Hello to everyone. Thank you all for joining me at this time. My name is Shavi Zane, and I'm coming on to have a discussion with you all in regards to pornography. Now, pornography has been something that has been a very common thing throughout households, throughout relationships, for as far back as I can remember. And it has been something that people often use as a bonding tool or something to help to stimulate their relationships, or at least that's what they believe that they are doing when they indulge in pornography. But there's a darker energy, okay, spiritually, that is attached to the pornography industry and those who indulge and engage in it. Um, if you yourself are not involved in watching pornography, then it's still informative information for you to understand, especially if you might know someone who might be overindulging in pornography or just in the act itself. Okay, so we're going to get into it. I'm going to talk about some details surrounding pornography, and then I want to move into actually pulling the cards to see how this is affecting relationships, the male specifically, and then I'm going to see how it's affecting the female. I'm going to see how it's affecting relationships, and then I'm going to pull to see what the agenda is behind creating pornography. Okay, so let's get into some of the details surrounding pornography. Now, I know that I couldn't really come up with exactly when the first pornography film was put out for the masses to see, but what I did see was that, first of all, let's start off with the term pornography. It is actually derived from Greek language, porn. It actually means, pornography means writing about prostitutes, because porn deals with prostitutes. So it means the writing of prostitutes. Graphy deals with writing. So pornography is the writing about prostitutes. Now, that in and of itself, just the title, should let you know that you are literally indulging in watching prostitutes perform acts on other people. A lot of people tend to glorify pornography and they remove the prostitution aspect from it because they now call them porn stars. And so, with that particular title, people tend to detach from the fact that they're watching prostitutes perform and to get paid to do that, and actually ejaculating and having orgasms to watching prostitutes in the act. Okay, so the pornography industry, from what I'm seeing, it began around 1855, based on what I was able to pull up here, with moving pictures. So they would like make pictures and make it so that they would move really quickly so that you can see each image moving as if it was actually a film. This was in 1855. Um, and it eventually progressed to like magazines, but at that time they also had places where people could go to like discrete locations and watch actual pornography films. Okay, but it was not something that was being placed into the household or where you can go and publicly purchase it and bring it back to your home at that time. um, Eventually they began to have magazines. I know Playboy with Hugh Hefner, he became one of the most popular people to introduce pornography through magazines, through the Playboy magazine. And then he eventually progressed to films, okay, where you can go and get, y'all remember the sex stores. I know I remember where you can go to the back, okay, and you could request to see sex videos. So you'd be sent to the back where you go and see all of the porn films and the tapes that you can purchase or rent out. Or I don't know if you could rent them out, but you could purchase them and do it that way. So they had a specific place in the back for the pornography films. Okay, now there was a man. This person was a doctor. Okay, I'm trying to find that information. This particular doctor did studies. He wrote a book. Okay, at the time he wrote a book. Um, Dr. Kinsey, okay? He wrote a book in 1953. He was a zoologist, okay? And he wrote a book in 1953 called Sexual Behavior of Human Females, okay? And when he put this book out there, the masses is like they jumped on, or the so-called powers that were, they jumped on the opportunity to use him as the spokesperson to say that based on his professional knowledge and his studies, this actually gives us reason to now put these sexual things out to the public and allow people to feel comfortable with this based on this doctor's studies. Okay. And many believe that his research proved that most people engaged in the sexual practices labeled as deviant or taboo. So he convinced the public that most people engage in these types of acts, okay, whether it's behind closed doors or, for other people to see. And one of the ways that he was able to come up with his so-called research was that he would actually go and do interviews or his studies was largely conducted through prostitutes and prisoners. Okay. Now, obviously, as a prostitute, you're out selling your body in order to get money. And so if you're interviewing a prostitute, quite naturally, a prostitute is going to tell you, well, yes, I'm engaged in this, and yes, I might feel this way or that way. But at the same time, you're engaging with someone who is broken. You're asking someone who is literally broken spiritually, mentally, physically, in all ways. This person that you're interviewing, that they're completely broken and they have demons, multiple demons attached to them based on what they do. And so these are also people who are likely addicts, okay, and many other things that come along with that type of lifestyle. Then you have prisoners on the other end, which that's kind of in and of itself. If you're interviewing prisoners in regards to deviant acts, deviant sexual acts, then you're saying that, okay, because there is no male and female prisons that I know of, especially not in 1953. So you're talking to people who are acting on their carnal nature because they do not have access to the opposite sex. And so they're just doing it in order to get a specific thrill. But these are also people who are feeling very confined and very probably going through depression and many different things emotionally. And so you're interviewing these types of people. And then they also said that he filmed sexual acts in his attic, in the attic of his house. He took the staff members and he filmed sexual acts in the attic of his house for observation purposes. Okay. So this is how he was able to come up with the conclusion that most people are involved in these types of acts. And Kinsey also has documents and reports of over 300 children between the ages of 5 months and 14 years old. This is how he came up with his study. So he has documents of prostitutes, prisoners, videotapes that he recorded in his attic, as well as documents surrounding the way that children react to sex and being able to claim that they too have a deviant and this appetite for sex between the ages of 5 months. Since when does a 5-month baby have any interest in sex up to 14 years old? Okay, so this man clearly has some perversions himself. Okay, clearly, because how the hell do you come up with those studies from a child that's that young, unless you are actually engaging with them in some sort of way to stimulate them, to make yourself believe that they are being pleased by your perverted pedophile acts? You all need to understand what you are engaging in and where these things derive from, so that you can understand the spirit that is attached to it. But we're going to keep going, okay? So this is what this doctor came out with in 1953. Now, that same year, Hugh Hefner came out with the first ad. He had published Playboy magazine using Marilyn Monroe as the face of this particular magazine. I believe this was his first magazine. Okay, Hugh Hefner came out and used Marilyn Monroe as the face to draw in the masses, because she had that lustful, that Jezebel spirit. It was very heavily and strongly on her, and obviously she was very alluring to people as far as aesthetically pleasing to the eye. And so he used her as the image. Okay, and from that point on, it seems like things begin to escalate in terms of the masses having direct access to sexual content. And initially it was a lot of soft porn. That's what they called it, soft porn, where you see sexual acts of two people just kind of, maybe dry humping or something like that, okay? Now, I hope y'all are 18 years or older to be watching this video, but even if you're not, if you're watching pornography, then you need to be watching this so that you can understand why you need to turn that stuff off. So now, moving forward, there's multiple reasons why a person should not be engaging in this, okay? I'm also seeing that pornography, because it is addictive, it's something that stimulates the sacral chakra, okay? And if you don't know about the chakras, you might want to go and do some research. But the sacral chakra, when it's overactive, it makes you have pleasure-seeking behaviors, addictions, okay? It makes you seek out things that's going to activate that dopamine, or that's going to make you feel good. So whether it's through drugs, eating, pornography, sex, whatever the case may be. Now, these people, most people who heavily indulge in pornography, tend to have issues such as depression, okay? They tend to have anger. They tend to have aggression. They also tend to have, I also saw that there's a study that was conducted in Germany that reflected that memory loss is also attached to indulgence of pornography. A German scientist analyzed how the part of the brain responsible for storing information reacts after being shown sexual images, okay? And so they took 28 men around the average of about 26 years old, and they showed them some sexual photos, and then they showed them non-sexual photos. And they came back and asked them to try to remember what they had seen. And so they saw that the non-sexual photos, the men were able to recall 77 to 80% of the non-sexual photos. They was able to get the answers right to be able to recall what they had seen. But when it came to the sexual photos, only 67% answers was right in regards to that. And of course, the men reported that they had a lot of sexual energy that was building, and they was becoming aroused while they was looking at the sexual photos. So it's like it's something that happens within the brain, okay? Just like they say the blood goes from the brain down here, okay? Because it's actually taken away from your ability to retain information in that moment because you're so sexually aroused. And so think about it, when you have a pornography addiction, which many people will not actually admit to having a pornography addiction, okay? But realistically, there's a lot of people with pornography addictions out here that keep it in the closet. They keep it hidden, okay? Because it's a lot of shame and guilt that is attached to that. So that is also another one of the symptoms that people go through, is shame and guilt. These are all very low vibrational energies. And so imagine, because the pornography industry, these people are making billions of dollars every year off of pornography, and the numbers of views have actually skyrocketed since the pandemic, okay? The views of pornography have skyrocketed and gone up very, very high since then, because more people have been staying in their homes, okay? And so you have more people who are indulging in this energy. It says here that 17% of women admitted to having pornography addictions and sought help, and 20% of men admitted to having pornography addiction. Now, obviously, these are people that are here in the U.S., but that's that's a unrealistic number, because these are only the people who wanted to come forward and actually seek out help or to admit that they had an addiction. Most people would not admit to having an addiction because most people do not. I think most people kind of know, but many of them would not admit to saying that it is an addiction, because there's been such a stigma attached to it, where people say, okay, because I can recall, back in, because I'm not that old, shoot, I be sounding old sometimes, but I can recall in my earlier years where being exposed to sex, it was like this thing of, if you watched pornography, then that meant that you had a healthy sexual appetite, right? And so if you was in a relationship and you said, well, I don't do that, I don't watch pornography, then people would say that you was, too square, okay? Or too uptight when it came to your sexuality, okay? and that only those who was into watching pornography with their man or with their woman, that's when you're a freak. Okay, that's when you gonna do the real stuff in the bedroom. And so it became a very common theme for couples to actually have porn in their household to watch it together. Now, consider, when you realistically think about what you're doing, you are looking at a man and a woman having sex. That's when you are still on the level of, okay, you haven't gone too deep down the rabbit hole, because you know this thing can get real dark. Okay, they have what they call hardcore porn, and I think they might even have super duper hardcore porn, because now it's getting to the point where, well, let me finish. In terms of couples, you start watching this together. And first of all, if you're dealing with someone, let's say there's an insecure woman, okay, and there's an insecure man. Now, porn, those who receive these jobs, obviously the man is going to be extremely well endowed, okay, most of the time, in order for him to get the role, because they want to make sure that it's that it factor that's going to make you say, okay, I want to watch this over and over again because of how endowed he is. So you're going to get somebody they got about 50 inches worth of penis, right? And then you have these women on there who are unrealistic, okay, because they come in, many of them having like the breast implants or the butt implants, or, have had these surgeries, and, a face full of makeup, and they're making all of these unrealistic noises, and, just doing things that are just not even the norm, but they're putting on an act. This is what they do. They probably barely even have any pleasure in doing what they do, because they do it so much. They have such overactive sacral chakras, is to the degree where they probably have to take stimulants, drugs, and different things in order to get themselves aroused. Okay, and then lubricants and things of that nature to make it seem as if they're having these massive explosive orgasms and all of this different type of stuff. Okay, but with that being said, you're watching an unrealistic version of what sex is, okay? And then you're also removing from the act of sex, because sex is a very powerful energy. So you're taking that and you're actually giving that very powerful energy to something that is very low vibrational in nature. So when you got these two insecure people. So this man, he's sitting up there thinking, okay, well, I'm watching this dude. He's extremely well endowed, and then his partner is sitting there thinking, well, I'm watching this female who was able to flip her legs way to the back of her behind, okay? And now the two of them are there trying to figure out ways of how they're gonna mimic this. First of all, that's very unnatural to the couple themselves, because that's just like two people going to go dance together on the dance floor. And instead of you just vibing with each other and going with, your own rhythm that the two of you share, you sit up there watching a couple next to you repeating after them in terms of what they're doing, in order to confirm to the two of you that you know how to dance, because you enjoy the way that they dance. That doesn't even make sense. Or, it just doesn't make sense. And so people are trying to mimic what they see these people doing. Mind you, when the couple gets ready to perform the act together, because now they've gotten all stimulated and aroused, right, from watching somebody else be in the act. Two people that don't give a damn about each other. Two people that's probably highly inebriated or drunk or high, whatever it is they had to do. They hate themselves, they hate each other, but yet they getting paid, so they're going to go ahead and have sex. And you're watching this energy. It's being fed to you. It's stimulating your sexual energy. Then you go to have sex with your partner. Two insecure people come together, and in your partner's mind, they're thinking about that well-endowed man. Now they're visualizing that well-endowed man instead of the man that they're with. And the man is visualizing that, busty, big booty female that probably doesn't look anything like the woman that he's with. And so now the two of you are sitting up here visualizing something that is not even there. And so you have a disconnect in terms of your sexual encounter that the two of you share with one another. Okay. And so on a spiritual level, though, pornography is literally the spiritual Jezebel. It's a large part of the beast, okay? And because so many people from the masses put their sexual energy into this thing, we talking about right now, while I'm making this video, you got millions of people that are currently right now indulging in pornography. And so this is something that is worldwide that's going on. And so it's a beast that is being fed in the spiritual realm through your sexual energy. You are literally giving your sexual energy to this beast. Now let's talk about those people who are not in a partnership that are engaging in pornography to the degree where, because usually in that type of energy, that's when you're really indulging in it, okay? Because you don't have someone there to really to stimulate or to help you in to achieve that orgasm. So now you have to go and you begin watching pornography. And so in that energy, what happens is it's almost like a drug, right? Let's just say something like crack. It's that addictive. You go and you start using crack knowing that it's an addictive drug, but then what happens? Now you have to feed yourself with more. You got to get more, you got to get more until crack is no longer enough. Now you got to start progressing over to other drugs like heroin or popping pills. I don't know, these are the things that you end up doing, or combining multiple things in order to try to achieve that sense of gratification that you got when you first took the crack. Okay. And so it's that same energy when you're watching pornography. You end up having to feed the beast, but you end up having an insatiable appetite to the degree where you just watching a man and a woman having sex is no longer enough. Now you find yourself dipping off into watching men on men, women on women, humiliation type of things, because now they saying the hardcore porn is where it's humiliation is involved in this thing, okay? And so you end up watching things where people are being physically humiliated, or violence is attached to the sexual act, because now you need to really stimulate, because you're talking about you stimulating the root chakra and the sacral chakra. These are the two lower chakras. The root chakra is at the base of your spine, and the sacral chakra is around your genitals. And so you got these two energies that are hyperactive, okay, spinning out of control, overactive sacral chakra to the degree where you are now needing to feed the rage. You're needing to feed the lust. You're needing to feed the energy of being able to feel to be able to feel. That's my crystal, y'all. So don't say, whatever. To be able to feel the energy of this sexual beast. You have to now be able to feed that beast, because now it's becoming more hungry. Like I said, it's an insatiable appetite. So that spiritual Jezebel is now, you're attached to it. You have an umbilical cord to it through your addiction to pornography. Okay. And so this also, what else happens when you have these types of energies is that you end up in this energy of shame, guilt, depression. And it also affects you in terms of when you get ready to go and have sex with an actual partner. You now, some men end up dealing with erectile dysfunction, okay, because now the person that they're with, the sexual energy is not heightening them enough. It's not stimulating them enough like the pornography does, okay, which takes them down this deep, dark rabbit hole where they can, and also consider that the crime rate goes up as well when it comes to things like rape and sex trafficking and, these pedophiles, okay, molestation and families and these types of things, because at that point, you're watching all of this pornography. You're going deeper into the darkness of pornography, going deeper and deeper into this darkness. And so now you're no longer just satisfied with just sitting there and creating orgasms for yourself, because you're doing this behind closed doors. This is what you're doing in secret. Now you have to go and see how you can reenact what you've been watching. And so if you're watching something that's dark and sinister, like somebody getting choked out, in a dungeon, and that's how, that's where they're having sex, then naturally you laying next to your wife who is comfortable with, missionary, and the regular, things that the various positions, okay? But she's not into all of that extra stuff that's stimulating that really overactive sacral chakra that you have and that insatiable lust. Then you'll end up in a position where if you can't pay somebody like a prostitute to reenact those things that you are habitually going back to feed that lust, then you'll mess around and force someone, okay, criminally force someone to reenact that lustful desire that you are watching by raping someone or by being a pedophile and going after children who are not able to defend themselves, or any type of thing. You'll start doing things that are very much so in your carnal nature, okay? And those demons are going to start reenacting themselves through you. And so this is why the sex trafficking industry, as in the trafficking criminal industry, as well as rape and things like that, have escalated, because the pornography industry has reenacted these things and has drawn people in through that Jezebel spirit, okay, and kept people in that insatiable appetite for sex where they cannot be fulfilled through regular everyday sexual acts, okay? Your sexual energy is very powerful. If any of you are now practicing things like celibacy or semen retention, then you understand the importance of harnessing in your sexual energy, because sexual energy is creative energy. Sexual energy allows you to create. We know this because it allows you to create a whole human, which is a big deal in and of itself. But even outside of that, your sacral chakra is what allows you to develop your creative gifts, your natural skills, your talents, your gifts that you're able to present to the world. And if your sacral chakra is overactive, or if it's blocked, or if it's underactive, then you are not able to tap in to what your gift is. And so if you are naturally the type of person that's a writer, you're not going to be able to, you're going to have a whole lot of writer's block, whether you're a songwriter, a book writer, a poem writer, whatever it is that you do in terms of writing, you will have serious, severe writer's block if you are indulging in large, especially overindulging in pornography, because your sacral chakra is overstimulated. That's just like if you was overindulging in drugs or in weed or in alcohol. You are going to have writer's block because you are overstimulated by an external means of pleasure. And so in terms of what this does to the masses on a spiritual level, you got all of these people who have this straight umbilical cord to the Jezebel spirit through pornography. And on top of that, when you watch another person or two other people or three other people, 4, 5, 6 other people having sexual acts, because I'm telling you, it can get that deep. You go from watching 2 people to 50 people having sex all at one time. That's how deep and dark and sinister that industry is. You're having soul connections and soul ties to every person that you lust after and have an orgasm or ejaculation having ejaculation from watching them, okay? Because literally, while you're watching them, you are creating in your own mind that a sexual act is happening between you and that person, or that you're able to be stimulated based on the stimulation that they are projecting through that screen. You're able to be stimulated on the other end based off the energy that they're projecting through the screen. That's how powerful it is. We're talking about sexual energy, so much so that you can look at someone doing something and it will stimulate your body to the degree where you want to have an orgasm. This is a powerful energy that's being exchanged between two people, but we're not talking about something that's high vibrational in energy. We're talking about something that's very low vibrational in energy. And so ultimately, what this does is it causes for the masses, the group consciousness, okay, because we're talking about millions of people that's indulging in this now. Group consciousness is now operating from a space of shame and guilt, okay, and overactive sexual energy, addictions, pleasure-seeking behaviors. This is all feeding the Jezebel spirit, which is causing the group consciousness to vibrate very, very low. And this is why these people, the so-called powers that were, have so much control and so much power over the masses, because there's so many people that's operating in unison, okay? In unison to feed the Jezebel spirit. Now, let me see. I want to go ahead and get into pulling the cards, because I want y'all to see. Let me see if there's anything else that I wanted to talk about. Okay. I want you all to be able to gain an understanding of how this is really affecting those of you, if it's you or other people, whoever it might be, I know that at least one of y'all is watching some pornography, okay? I'm not judging you, but I'm telling you that I'm hoping that this will actually, look, I'm cutting the deck. The Knight of Wands is somebody who is usually he's a player. He loves to hit and run, okay? He loves to use that wand to stick it and quit it. And this Ace of Cups can also indicate that ejaculation, okay? Loving that, that energy of just going through and getting his way, having his way, okay? Before I even get a chance to pull, okay? But I'm going to see, we're going to start off with how is pornography affecting relationships, okay? How is pornography affecting relationships? And I'm going to be clarifying these cards to get some deeper messages. And towards the end, I'm also going to pull to see how it is affecting the masses mentally, which I've already discussed some of that. But see, look at this. I'm cutting the deck at the Nine of Swords, okay? How is pornography affecting relationships? I enjoy using the cards for these types of subjects because it gives you a visual aid so that you can see energetically what's happening, because this is literally happening right now all across the world. And so it's something that needs to be spoken about. And I use these so that you all can see energetically what is being put out there from the masses that are indulging and engaging in this type of energy. How is it affecting relationships? Okay, it's causing partnerships. It's causing people to want to move on, okay? These are those relationships, okay? Let me see what's behind this. Yeah, it's causing partners, people who are in relationships, to not want to stay put, okay? I feel like it's giving them this false sense of security to make them think that they are bonding with one another, but ultimately it's causing a lot of confusion, a lot of emotional upheaval, because people end up in this position where they're having to juggle, and possibly even having to choose between one person versus another, okay? Let me see what else is coming out. How is this affecting relationships? How is pornography affecting relationships? I think it's giving people a sense of false bonding. It's making them think that they're bonding, but it's actually causing a lot of confusion, okay? It's definitely bringing a lot of lustful energy, okay? Trying to tame that insatiable appetite, needing to maintain their strength. I feel needing to try to tame themselves even more, okay? Having to exert more personal strength to tame themselves from moving towards other connections, okay? The Wheel of Fortune is coming out, showing that it is causing a lot of changes in relationships, okay? Yeah, look at this. There's the devil right there, okay? And we have the Page of Swords, and then we have the Four of Cups. So let's talk about it. The devil, this obviously indicates that Jezebel beast, that Jezebel spirit that keeps the couples chained and bound to this lower level entity, okay, this lower level energy. And it's like, again, it's feeding that beast, because you can see that this is grapes here that she has on her tail, and then that's fire that he has over there. So that lustful, passionate, fiery energy is between the two people. She's feeding the beast, okay, through her lustful Jezebel energy, is keeping her connected and that stronghold, keeping her attached to this beast. And then for him, that fiery lust is keeping him attached to this beast as well. And so the couples end up being attached to this demonic lower level type of energy. Is also causing people to be very disconnected and very bored within their relationships, okay, where a lot of times they're even refusing, partners refuse one another for sex, okay? They receive these offers from their partner, okay? Your partner wants to come in and hand you that cup. I want to make this offer of a sexual advance to you in order to keep our bond strong, but it's boredom, okay? We're just now getting over colds over here, and so my daughter is coughing. So yes, everything is well. All right. I don't want to see no messages at the bottom of my screen talking about, is it the CVID? Okay, we're not gonna go there. Not every cold is that. Please. So we have here the Four of Cups. The Four of Cups indicates that like I said, people rejecting offers within these partnerships. Okay, being very bored with the offer because it's not sexually stimulating enough. Okay, he's sitting up here looking at these three cups. He probably want three women. Okay, instead of this one cup that's being offered by his partner. He's bored with that, and so it ends up causing this imbalance within the relationship. Okay, where they have to struggle to try to stay emotionally involved in the situation, as well as an imbalance in terms of whether or not they want to stay or go. Okay, non-committal type of energy. Then you have the Four of Swords in reverse, and so this would indicate that like immature communication, but it also indicates obsessive watching. Okay, obsessively watching something. And so yes, the Devil card is also about obsession. So obsessively watching these pornography videos, and it's keeping them very detached and disconnected emotionally. Okay, yeah. Look at this. You got the Two of Swords here and the Eight of Swords. So feeling trapped and detached emotionally. Okay, and both of them are blindfolded. So it's like this energy of not being able to see things clearly, not being able to see past their own lustful desires. Okay, but feeling very emotionally withdrawn and disconnected within the relationship, and also making the partner feel as if they're trapped within the relationship, making them feel as if they're chained and bound to something that's not allowing them to just be free. Because as you can see, when it comes to watching pornography, there's nothing about commitment. You're not watching two people that's committed to one another. And even if you was, they still not committed because they're showing it to the world to see. And so they're feeding their sexual energy to the masses. And so you're watching it, and it's giving people this false sense of, well, you should be able to have or be able to candy pick if you want to go and have sex with this woman today and have sex with that woman tomorrow, or that man today and that man tomorrow. If you want to have 10 men, one in each hole, your ear, your nostrils, every hole that you possess, you should be able to do that too. And so it's this energy of feeling like, okay, well, I'm chained and bound to this relationship. I can't get out there and do exactly what I want to do. I got all of these lusts, this lust that I have to try to maintain and keep tamed for the sake of maintaining my partnership. But, what I really want to do is go out here and have fun. What I really want to do is have three. I don't want to just be offered one. I'm bored with that offer. I want more than one woman. I want more than one man. That's what it's making people think, okay? And so one more card in terms of how it's affecting relationships, and I'm going to move on to the next question here. How is pornography affecting relationships? Okay, so we got three cards that came out, so I'll take them. So we have the Eight of Pentacles in the reverse. This indicates not putting in the work, not wanting to focus to put in the work to actually maintain the relationship, okay? And it also throws people off in terms of their work environment, okay? Because if you find that you end up having an addiction to pornography, you might find yourself watching pornography at work. But this also strongly indicates, because we're talking about in context of how it's affecting relationships, people are not able to, they're not wanting to put in the work to actually build the relationship. Then we also have the the King of Wands in the reverse. So this is someone who is very much so in his player energy, but it also indicates someone who's very insecure, a masculine who is very insecure. And I'm also seeing here, this will be someone who potentially has like a erectile dysfunction. Okay, that's what I'm seeing. Someone who has erectile dysfunction in the reverse. But I feel that it's also showing that this is someone who has an insatiable appetite as well. And so they're not able to find pleasure in just a regular union or a healthy union between two people. They need something that's more sinister. They might need something where they are chained and bound, okay, or doing something that's very dark in nature in order to receive that ejaculation or that erection. And so the Five of Pentacles in reverse indicates that it leaves the couples feeling as if they're being abandoned. Yeah, there's that Three of Cups. Remember, I was telling you about that, those three cups that this person is sitting in front of. or that's sitting in front of this person, they don't want just that one cup. They want three cups. And so they end up having these unhealthy connections, maybe even having desires to go and have threesomes and things of that nature. Okay, and also adding on to that addictive behavior. And this is the Page of Wands right behind that, indicating always wanting to have a new thrill, more passion, okay? More thrill and more passion, and feeling burdened and weighed down with it, okay? But wanting to get as much as possible, wanting to get it in as much as possible, because that's a lot of wands right there. So yeah, it's this very greedy type of energy. Like I said, an insatiable appetite that ends up being getting fed, or not really even being fed, but being awakened. This carnal nature being awakened within partnership. So let's see, specifically for the male, how is it affecting the male? How is watching pornography affecting the male? Look at that. I'm cutting the deck at the Seven of Swords. A very deceptive energy, okay? He's deceiving himself into thinking that this is something that is normal. It is something that is actually bringing pleasure to him, when in fact is actually causing a lot of shame and guilt behind that, especially if he's addicted to it, or if he finds himself trying to reenact what he is watching and going out to pay for prostitutes, you know, because again, Backpage, I want y'all to go back and look at my video Spell Broken, because I had a dream that was kind of in alignment with what's going on in terms of the Jezebel spirit. But Backpage and things of that nature was something that was really popular in terms of people using that as a means of buying prostitutes. And, you know, a lot of people didn't have any shame behind it at the time, or at least they acted as if they didn't. But yeah, look at that, secret relationships, okay? The wands can deal with sex, okay? So secret relationships, you know, having affairs in secret with multiple people, okay? This is how this is affecting the male. They're having to go and do this. So let me see. How is pornography affecting the masculine energy? How is it affecting the men who indulge in it? Look at this. Competitive energy, okay? It's causing a lot of aggressiveness within the men, but also very competitive energy amongst various men to fight for women, or to fight for the, you know, the baddest chick, you know, or a lot of just aggressive energy with, you know, just within the masculine himself, where he feels like, you know, he has to fulfill this lustful desire, and if he doesn't, he has all of this aggressive pent up energy within him. But this is also a lot of confliction, a lot of conflict with the masculine energy. Then we have the Magician in reverse, so that's showing a lot of manipulation that has to happen, that's coming from the masculine energy. And also it is affecting his ability to be a co-creator. It's affecting his ability to create, because the Magician is the creator. He is the manifester. He creates because he has everything necessary to do that right there on the table, as well as that divine connection to the Most High, where he has an understanding in the spiritual realm. But in the reverse, this is someone who does not possess the ability to manifest or to create or to be the co-creator of their life, because they are so overly stimulated. The sacral chakra as well as the root chakra, because remember I told you aggression is also a symptom of being overly exposed to pornography. And so they're overly exposed, hyperactive sacral and root chakras, and so they're not able to create. And when you're not able to create, then you end up in that energy where you stay in survival mode, because that's that root chakra. Once again, you stay in survival mode, and so you're not able to create abundance for yourself. You're not able to create happiness or peace, and all of these different things that you need in order to have balance within yourself and externally to you. And so they end up in this energy of a lot of, look at that, a lot of aggressive behavior. There it is again, the Eight of Wands, having a lot of sexual partners. Okay, a lot of sexual partners that they end up being exposed to. And what does that cause? A lot of chaos and conflict within relationships, okay, and amongst the various people that they're out here having sex with. And so just too much fire, okay, because wands is all about the fire element. So too much passion and fiery energy that they have within them. And as you saw with the Devil card that came out, the Devil card had the man's tail, had fire at the end of it, okay? It causes a lot of grief, a lot of burdens, okay? There's those 3 cups right there. You got the 2 cups that was with the couple, the man and the woman. He's turning his back from that, because he's overly focused on those 3 cups that have now spilt, because he realized that it was a lot of unrealistic expectations that came with him wanting to have multiple partners. And so he ends up taking a lot of losses, and he ends up in this energy of grief. A lot of changes ends up happening around him with the number 5 here twice. A lot of changes emotionally, chaotic change that happens in his life because of his addiction to pornography and this unrealistic expectation behind sexual energy and what it's supposed to do. He's under the impression that sexual energy is only meant to bring him self gratification and to stroke his ego, okay? Because in his mind, the more women he can get up underneath his belt, the more sexual encounters he can have, the more of a man he is, okay? But he's fooling himself, because in the midst of all of that, he's actually giving away his creative nature. Every time he spills his seed without the intention of actually creating something, whether it be through creating a loving connection between himself and his partner or creating a child, he's giving away his sexual energy just to random people that's also in low vibrational energy, might I add. And so now you're spilling your seed, and it's wasteful. You're wasting your creative nature. And so this is why this is in a reverse. He's not able to create or be the co-creator of his life. And so that's why they created the pornography industry, because as long as you can stay in that lower level energy, especially the masses as a whole, like I said, millions of people are tuned in right now watching that stuff on their phones because it's directly accessible. All you got to do is go and press it. And even children, it's no real filters to establish whether or not you're a child, except for a button that says, well, are you at least 18? Okay, if a child can read that sentence and they press it, then they're in. Just like that. You see what I'm saying? And so it's like they leave the door open for anybody to have access to this, because they want to make sure that they get you at a young age, all the way into adulthood, to where it's affecting you across the board. Okay. And so, like I said, group consciousness, the masses are all involved in feeding the Jezebel spirit, and it's keeping people from stepping into their divinity and knowing how to create for themselves. And so the 7 of Cups is here. He ends up, for the masculine, he ends up seeing that these options are not, because this is the energy of candy picking. Oh, I like that one over there. That looks real delicious. Let me go and get that. Or I want this one up here because look at that head. Let me get that head. Okay. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And then up here, oh, look at that. That's big. Let me get that. And, it's just that type of energy. Look at that. That's that snake that's in there, but it's very enticing. Okay. It's that energy. Yeah, there's a snake up there. Very enticing, right? And so they end up fooling themselves into thinking that this is realistic, and end up in this energy of spilled cups. Okay. And conflict and defeat and drama, chaos, and never being able to be the co-creator of their lives. And so they end up stuck in many other ways too. It creates a lot of stumbling blocks in other areas of their life. Yeah, look at that. It creates a lot of stumbling blocks in other areas of their life. A lot of things end up being blocked for them, okay, because they're constantly trying to defend secret relationships. They're constantly trying to keep quiet, keep people from finding out about these secret connections, rather than just being upfront. And when I see this, I'm also seeing that this will be the energy of men that end up on the down low as well. Okay, trying to keep a secret and trying to defend their position and their manhood. But behind that, they have secrets in regards to their sexuality, because again, the wands is that fiery energy. That's all you seeing coming out here. Wands, just wands all over the doggone place. Okay. And so this energy, they end up having to try to defend their manhood and trying to cover up these secret relationships, and paying for prostitutes and things of that nature, because they're trying to do all of these things in secret to fulfill this insatiable appetite. And so let me see, because the time is moving pretty fast here. I'm going to just pull these. The 10 of Cups indicates it messes up their family structure. They're not able to maintain as a happy, solid family life, okay, with their divine partner, okay, and maintaining their position as a father to their children, because they're too busy trying to get out here and candy pick, and they want to have all of these options. And so it's also causing for the woman in their life to be very guarded, okay? And she ends up pulling back sexually from them and emotionally from the man, because right now we're specifically talking about the man. She pulls back sexually and emotionally, and she's not open to sexual connections, because this is a naked woman here. She ends up guarding her sexual energy to protect herself and to protect her children, because you can see children down here, especially when we're talking about the man who is overly addicted. And I also saw that in a study it showed that about 54% of divorces, they are actually sexual addiction, or sexual addiction, but also pornography addiction is also reported. And 56 and about 50%, 56% of divorce proceedings cite an obsessive interest in pornographic websites. And so this is something that is large. We're talking about more than half of divorces. This is mentioned in the documentation when it's presented that there's an obsession with pornography. And so these women end up becoming very cold to the men and wanting to protect their sexual energy, those who are not addicted to it. But this is what happens. It breaks down the family structure, okay? And so this man ends up always having to deal with abandonment issues, being left out in the cold and always wanting to come out of the cold. And he also ends up being very insecure, and he also ends up being very emotionally detached. So that's what's happening with the men. Let's move on really quickly to what's happening with the women, because I didn't realize I was going to carry this out this long. What's happening with the women who indulge in pornographic films, okay? Cutting the deck, you already seeing the lovers here, okay? So a lot of sexual energy, a lot of lustful energy. I feel like with the Emperor being in reverse, these women end up stepping into a very masculine energy in terms of their sexuality, but trying to use it to control sexual connections. Those who are overly engaged and indulging in pornography. They use that sexual energy as a weapon against the masculine energy, okay? And you can see that based on like a lot of the videos that you watch, the music videos where the women are using their sexual energy as a way of luring in the audience, okay? And to gain the attention, to capture the attention of the masculines as well as women, you know. But they're using that as a way of controlling. Okay. So let me see. What is happening with the women? They end up being very open. There's nothing sacred there, okay? And a very misdirected energy. They have no direction. They're just very open, because this would be somebody who's holding back, who holds something of value here. But this is that energy of, just very open and no guidance, no true direction in terms of where they're going. They're just open, just all willy-nilly with it, okay? That's what I'm seeing there, okay? And they're using it, I feel like they use it as a way of manipulating men, especially men who are in a position of power, who have money. Women who are overly engaged in pornography tend to, it's like they learn how to use that sexual energy to get what they want from men who have a position of financial security, okay? And so they're more open to these types of men, because now they figure they have some sort of advantage. Well, I know how to do this and I know how to do that, and I can please you in this way. And so they end up using that as a way of a financial advantage towards the men who are willing to give their money, okay, to these types of energies. And it's like they want to trap these men through their sexual energy, okay? Because that's what they're teaching you when you're watching a woman who is a prostitute. Clearly, if you are having an orgasm to watching that type of energy, then you're actually feeding your mind subconsciously. You're saying you approve of prostitution, and you end up inadvertently or, probably intentionally becoming a prostitute yourself. But many of them do it unintentionally, but they go after men who have money and they say, well, I can turn you out, I can do this for you, and I can do that for you because I have the skill, but in exchange I want you to pay my bills, and if you're not paying my bills, then I can't give you what you want. And so they try to trap them in that energy. Okay, they try to trap them by using their sexual energy, because that's what they're being taught through pornography, that sex sells. Okay, and obviously it does, but it's very unhealthy. Look at this. What's there? They're using this as a way of having forward advantage, okay? Because now it's like the pentacles stand for money. And so they come in thinking that, okay, I can use my sexual energy to get this man to give me what he has financially, or even having children. They use their sexual energy to trap them with children that, they really don't want, but now it's a financial advantage to them, because now this man will have a position of responsibility, especially if he's wealthy, to take care of this child. And so they figure that that's their advantage to being able to move forward in life, or maybe even to trap this man to come with them. Because again, you see those swords right there. This will be that same person that they've now been able to trap using that sexual energy. And now they're able to take him and that child. Okay, now he's in control. He's taking them, and the woman feels like she can use that to her advantage, because it started off with this energy of not having enough, but being very loose and open. Okay, and also that scattered energy of misdirection. Okay, misdirection. And so now you're able to get this man, and hope, try to draw in men who have financial abundance, that's going to be able to direct you. Okay, and hopefully, for them, it's like their energy of wanting to trap them with this child, where this child will be used as a tool to help them to move forward in life. Okay, let me pull a couple of more cards. So look at this. A lot of conflict and chaos. This came out for the masculine energy for the men. So a lot of conflict that's behind this, because even the women, like I said, they end up being very loose. So even if they do get this man who is stable to take care of them, they still end up being in that loose energy where they're having sex with multiple people and causing a lot of chaos and conflict between the men. Okay. And then also look at that. We got the devil. We got the King of Cups in the reverse. They end up being very emotionally detached, but they also use the sexual energy to trap them and to keep them bound to this lustful Jezebel spirit. Because like I told you, that the wands, the man came out with a bunch of wands. With the females, I'm seeing more swords here and more pentacles. I'm seeing more pentacles. So it brings a lot of abundance. At least that's what they think. It brings abundance. And then they're able to trap this man through this lustful Jezebel energy, because she wants to feed those. That's a cluster of grapes. She wants to feed his insatiable appetite. Okay, that fire. And so this keeps them trapped and chained and bound to the Jezebel spirit. So let me just see. I want to pull. I wanted to go deeper, but I have a few more questions, but I don't want to go over too far in the time, because it's going to take forever for this to upload. The overall agenda behind the creation of pornography. What is the overall agenda? I'm going to pull from both decks, and then I'm going to close out, because I got another. I guess I might have to do a part 2. You all let me know if you want to see a part 2 to this, and I'll be more than happy to come back and do a continuation. The overall agenda behind creating pornography. So we have here, weaken the man and the woman. So yes, to weaken the man and the woman, because we saw the strength card come out in reverse initially, or the strength card came out. So having to try to maintain your strength in order to tame those that lustful appetite. Okay, to weaken the man and the woman, to keep them chained and bound to this demonic energy. Then we also have STD exposure. Okay, increase in STD exposure. So what does that do for the powers that were? Why would they come out with this to the masses like that? Well, STD exposure is actually going to help inflate the amount of people that's going to be needed, or going to be going to medical professionals to get treatments, right? And so there's there's financial increase for the medical industry, because you have so many people that's being exposed to STDs. Then you have here lack of desire to commit. Okay, lack of desire to commit, and that's what we saw, especially with the masculine energy. They end up becoming bored with just, the everyday two people. They want to go out and have multiple women, especially women in secret affairs. Okay, we also have here, perverted fantasy is at the bottom. So yes, perverted fantasy, that also leads you to a very sinister type of sexual acts when you're watching people do things like domination, humiliation, and all of these things. Child pornography, pedophile type of situations. So perverted fantasy, that actually helps the system to maintain, because now you have more people that's going to be incarcerated for crimes that they're committing in order to pleasure themselves through these acts, whether they're getting locked up for buying a prostitute, or whether they're getting locked up for raping someone or molesting someone, or whatever it is that they're doing. Okay, perverted fantasy. Then you have, the Jezebel spirit. That's why they created the pornography, because they want to be able to feed the Jezebel spirit, which is that lower level demonic entity in the spiritual realm that needs the sexual energy, because I told you sexual energy creates. And so if you're not creating a baby, and if you're not using that sexual energy in a healthy way to create your purpose, then that means that you're spilling your seed, or you're using your orgasmic energy to create something else, but you don't know what you're creating, because you just feeding it to the beast, and the beast is taking it and using it at its disposal to create what it wants, which is power. Okay, which is power over you and over the masses. Also, erectile dysfunction becomes an issue. And so that's where the powers that they also have an advantage financially, because now you have many men that are seeking doctors to help them to figure out how they can get their erectile dysfunction reversed. Medications and things of that nature, such as Viagra and many different things, are now being sought after, okay, in order to, cure erectile dysfunction. People are also even getting, I remember back in the day, they're getting these wires, okay, to keep the thing, up. I don't know if they got something that's more advanced now, but to keep it hard at all times. I had a couple of patients that had that back in the day, but they probably have things more advanced at this time. And then we have here fear of judgment. And so if you're in this energy of fearing judgment, fear is a very low vibrational energy. Fear will keep you in survival mode. Fear actually causes physical illness. Fear of judgment, when you are in that energy of being afraid of being judged because you're doing this in secret, and you have all of these very perverted desires in your mind in terms of what you need in order to fulfill that lust, then you hold it in, and you have all these skeletons in the closet, and you fear being judged if you're exposed. And so if you're in that energy, then you can never rise into your divinity. You can never step into that position of being the co-creator of your life, because you don't even feel comfortable in being at the forefront or coming forward in your power, because you feel powerless. Behind the facade, behind the image that you show the world, you feel powerless, because you know that you have all of these skeletons that really is hiding this sadistic and this very low vibrational sexual appetite that you have. Okay, so I'm gonna pull one more card and I'm going to close out. Okay, we have here attract partners based on lust and creates disastrous connections. So yes, you're attracting partners that's based on lust. You got all these wands here, and you creating disastrous connections where people are fighting one another, and it causes more violence. Okay, because if you have this energy of, you have this insatiable appetite, then you got people that's around you. All of them are low vibrational in energy, because you're attracting people to you who also feed that Jezebel spirit in their energy, and they're all in this position of wanting to fight one another, because everybody is aggressive. Everybody has these overactive root and sacral chakras, and so it just creates this really big snowball effect of really bad energy in the environment and in the atmosphere. So that's what I got for y'all. If you want a part two, just in the comments, just say part two. And the more I see part two, then I'll say, okay, that signifies that I need to come on and do another one of these, so I can really go deeper in terms of how this is affecting the masses on a spiritual level and also on a mental level. So I love you all, and I hope to see you all again soon. You can always email me for a private reading. Please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel if you find these messages resonate with you, and I will talk to you all next time.